I think. Hey, welcome back, Darryl Vine. How are
There we
you?
go. Yeah, awesome, man. Yeah, thanks for having me back. I've been excited about this since last week. Like I kid you not, I've been waiting with anticipation to join you again.
I really want to thank you for that because I feel the same.
Mm,
You and I have a beautiful, beautiful connection, right? And it's something that I am really enjoying embracing, and it's 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 a dance with each other to see how we can make more threes.
mm.
Daryl and Scott, 1 + 1 = 3. You
Yeah,
know,
that's
the
it.
the magic of that is
Mm,
just phenomenal because it's something that everything I embrace is about that.
mm,
Daryl's magic, Scott's magic creates a new magic. And the more we do that, the more magic we create and the more we can support and
mm.
grow and just have these amazing things. So I'm going to grab a recap actually.
Sure.
What was it about last week that really that sat in your heart?
Look, I think it's one, the comfort that you create in having that open conversation. There's a lot of times, and we do a lot of podcasts. I'm fortunate just with our little platform that people are taking some interest. They want to talk to you, which is awesome. But a lot of it is just, what's the mechanics or what's the point? And even when you delve into the emotional side of that journey, it's still, sort of, and I don't want to say robotic, but it's an organized, structured conversation. Whereas, you have this capacity to draw out from, I would imagine, maybe some more resilient souls to that bearing, your vulnerability side. But you do, you just go, I want to tell you this, I want to share. Yeah, the comfort, obviously the conversation was great. But more so that this is a really good place to have a chat, and you smile all the time, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, I am because I'm listening with intent. I'm enjoying what's coming towards me. I'm enjoying listening to what you have to say that I don't want to miss any part of it. You know,
Mm,
like, and I think that's something that embraces the conversation as a whole.
yeah.
And I think that's what I'm looking forward to bringing forward. So, but for me, last week, the thing that I haven't been able to get out of my head, that it's just been bobbling around, reciprocity,
Yeah,
right? And for that,
reciprocity.
yeah, and like
Yeah,
just that magic. How can we create that? How can we? What would that look like? What would that
yeah,
look like of a world and a community that just constantly supported each other, constantly grabbed their own? Just Daryl, you are amazing at bringing things together. You're amazing at seeing the bigger picture. How can I support you?
mm,
How what are the things I can do to make your life that little bit easier so you can stay in your magic? You know?
yeah,
And I just that, that just so excites me so much,
yeah.
because yeah. So how does that feel for you?
You know what? If I can just tell you a little funny story about how that might work. Um, when I had the fortune of being born again and becoming a Christian, I went through this process of what's the point, and I swear I must have been a real nightmare at the start of that journey because it was like, really this, really that, really this. Anyway, I got through that process. But when you started to look about what you plan or what your purpose, and I'm sure lots of people have gone through this, but the analogy I use is that I believe that God has shown me a plan, and we talked about that a little bit last week about FireFly. But that plan to start with was one of those 12-piece wooden jigsaw puzzles. The ones with little pegs on them that you give your kids. They like too. You can't get them wrong as long as you shuffle them around. And so here I am sitting here with this vision and this jigsaw puzzle. And by the time I got to the 12th piece, I looked down and it's chained to a 100-piece jigsaw puzzle. So the picture and the vision was coming more defined, was getting easier to see, but the puzzles and the pieces to put in were getting harder and harder. And by the time I got to the 99th piece, I looked down again, it's a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle. So now I can see lots of the journey really clearly. And you know what? All that time, because I got to 10,000 piece jigsaw puzzle, right? That's FireFly was that. That was the 10,000 piece jigsaw puzzle. Looked amazing. The vision was awesome. But now what I've discovered is that those pieces of those jigsaw puzzles now aren't actually the pieces to go in. They're the people to go in. And I'm starting to see that to finish that picture, these little pieces that will actually just bring that picture to life are not me. They're not the jigsaw puzzle. They're the people. They're the Scott Carson needs to go in that place because he's going to shine the light on that image. Courtney Smith needs to be in this place. Do you know what I mean? So all these people that I'm meeting are now finishing the picture, and it's just awesome.
Like I'm smiling with joy listening to this because it's one of a great mentor once told me, he goes, it's not how do I do this? It's who do I need to work with me to make this happen, right? Because how do I do this? Like, it's great to take responsibility.
Sure.
However, when you work with somebody, it's not, and the old adage, problem shared is problem halved. It's more of a what can we create with this situation more than a problem, because I don't see problems, I only see opportunities. So that's like it's a problem to me. It's just an opportunity to grow, and that's the magic. So listening to that, that's why I'm so excited about that, because just that reciprocity, like I can't get that out of my head.
Well, just another little side issue. You do know that how and who are exactly the same letters.
They are.
But if you ask that, how do I do this? It's the who you do this. Same word, rearrange it a little bit. Because the how in everything we do is the who. It's the who we do it with, who we do it for. It's the who. If we're not doing this, I'm doing this for all the volunteers to start with. I'm doing this for my family. I'm doing this for my wife. I'm doing this for the kids' legacy, for my it's always about the who.
And I think that right there is a great lead into where we need to go tonight, right? Because the value of volunteering, like who does that value go to? So there's 4 parts I want to unpack with you tonight on that, if that's all right, because I think that's the 4 parts that I can identify that are really important. You may have more. But I'd like to start with the personal value of volunteering, right? Because it's such. I'll allow you to go there first, and then I'll dance with it after.
No, you go. Lead on.
Well, okay, I can only describe it as an experience that allows you to grow by simply being a part of it. When you volunteer, you get the opportunity to be a part of something that's bigger than you. It's gifting something on to others. But it's really valuable to be a part of it and see what the value of that is. Did you catch it?
Right, mate. Yeah, you got it. So, John Newcomb backhand.
Was it a FireFly?
No, it wasn't, mate. They're protected.
So
it was an imposter.
Oh, we can't have those. No. so that like it is such an internal joy being of service, and I think for me, it is one of the best things I've done to embrace me and the opportunities that came about because I did that.
Yeah.
I spoke about last week, that's to get the opportunity to actually support my town, support an event, create some excitement. What I saw people do, what I was able to gift them in a moment. Like so when I first volunteered for Ironman, and I was there, this Japanese guy came out of the swim, 3.8K. Now, he'd never swum in the ocean.
Mhm.
It's a whole different ball game to swimming in a pool. He
Yeah.
came out close to last, right?
Mhm.
And he's come out and he's a mess. And I've just run and grabbed him, and I've just wrapped a foil around him and sat him down, right? I'm going to try and say this without swearing, because the next bit I said I was swearing, right?
Uh-huh.
So that I could give him the emotion that he needed. He's sitting down with a foil, and it's pretty much cut off time, and it looked like he wasn't going anywhere. And I've walked up to him and I've said to him, "You've come all the way from Japan to get this done. Now get out on your bike and get this done." He's like, "Yes." And he's got up, he's gone out, got on the bike, and he's got over it, and he's gone out and done 180 Ks. He's gone
Nice.
out dead last. Comes back and he's about 70th from last. And when he came back, the tears in my eyes, the tears in his eyes, we just had a hug that I'll never forget.
Yeah.
Just being in that moment it's life and heart filling. You can't buy that experience. You just have to be it, So the personal side of things for me, it's really hard to articulate. But the only thing I can really say is it's just internal growth, and I just love that. So I've probably gone over a bit there, but that's how I
Yeah. Look,
feel about it.
it's so good to sit with guys like you that know, don't think, no. I sit down with a lot of people that think. I think a lot too now and then. But you know what? One of the things, and it just dawned on me as I was listening to you then. I think at the end of the day, certainly from my perspective, um, like we have an underscore phrase on our website and a mandate in our mission statement, which is to elevate volunteers. And there's that's the fantastic initiative that the FireFly is all about. But I question sometimes about whether we should just have a mission statement of elevating good, and whether we should change the value of volunteering to the value of good. Because in that moment that you talk about where you had harsh words with this guy, but the good in that was what he needed, not the harsh words in that. And it was delivered with good intent. And the outcome was good for you and for him. You know what I mean? So because we label lots of stuff, Scotty, you know what I mean? And volunteering is just it's a fantastic word, but it actually means, someone who has by free choice and will the opportunity to do something good for somebody else without the expectation of any reward.
Yes.
Like that's what it means. So I just think, and like you get a bunch of volunteers at a footy club doing a working bee, you don't go around and give them a pat on the back and go, nice volunteering, nice volunteering, nice volunteering. No, you give them a slap on the back and say, good job, mate. Like you did good. We all did a great thing. We all worked really well. So I think, if I could take my magic marker out and go, let's rephrase the whole sector of the community about the value of being good doers, then I think we might have some different attitude towards volunteers. Do you know what I mean? When you go, oh, I'm with the Good Doers Club and we'd like to do some good for you, mate, take your bag and your rattly tin and go, like, would we have the same response as what a lot of volunteers do? It's one of those things. So yes, you're right. The internal value we get as a volunteer is not the fact that I volunteered at Ironman or I stand at a car park gate ushering tickets one way or another. It's the good that I do.
Yeah.
That gives us that value, not the work that I do.
Oh, that's bringing up all sorts of stuff inside me.
Sorry,
Mainly,
man.
no, it's good stuff, because I'm like I look at where we're at volunteering wise, where
Mm-hmm.
um, we've relied so heavily upon volunteers to make things happen throughout life. And
Yeah.
life has become so busy
Mm.
that we've had to place in order where we get our reward from, right?
Mm.
So, with so much demand upon everything, especially our time, we have to understand the real purpose behind what we're doing,
Mm.
and doing good is good for everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah. I think that's why it's called good.
yeah. I like that. I
I
like
think,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You're right.
But if we
How do we
embrace,
have bad happening in society if everyone's just focused on doing good?
yeah. So I'm going to grab that for a sec because we'll go off on
Hmm.
a little bit of a tangent right now, right?
Right.
Because I think it's really important. Um, I believe that in society we can be doing things a little bit better. I think we can be encouraging each other a little bit more, and I think we could do a whole lot better on understanding who our role models in society are.
Hmm.
What are the positive attributes our role models need to have?
Hmm.
And I think that when we focus on people who do good
Hmm.
and with the right intention, and we share that, people feel really good
Mm.
just from being a part of that, just for hearing that story.
Mm.
Like, and to head off on a little tangent, every time I hand somebody a pair of socks,
Mm.
I do good,
Yeah.
but that good continues on.
Mm.
It continues on because, like, they're in their drawer. They remember that moment. Like
Mm.
I just got back from Sydney yesterday, and I dropped into a servo. There's a young girl there that she's just wearing a smiley t-shirt. That just made me smile seeing you come towards me. I'm like, thank you so much. I said, oh, no worries, I'll be back in a minute. That's the car, come back. Just want to say thank you for acknowledging that. Say thank you for just embracing what I'm putting out.
Mm.
Here's a pair of socks. It's a gift from my heart to yours. Right. And
Yeah.
that good just continues. It's that ripple effect. What would
Mm.
our society be like if we how can we do good? How can we
Yeah.
support? So off on a
Well,
tangent, but
but and you're right, because there's a lot of time especially in the volunteering sector, where people don't look at the full cycle of that
yeah,
activity. Like give an example at Meals on Wheels, they do a fantastic job. They go around to the elderly and make sure that they have that. If that organisation didn't exist, then this person over here that is now sitting at 3 hours in a waiting room at a hospital complaining about the bad service might stop to think about the fact that, well, if this person had Meals on Wheels and regular, she wouldn't have been rushed to hospital in an ambulance because she hasn't been feeding herself, which is now holding you up to get your thumb fixed. Do you know what I mean? It's like there is the full cycle of the ramifications, not just that's beautiful, that someone delivering food and nutrition to somebody else, wonderful act. And then there is the ramification of if it doesn't happen, you know. So there is the direct economy of volunteering, then there's the indirect, and we have here's the direct effect I get when I volunteer. And it's just to be nice if when people do volunteer for them, that other people appreciate that. Like the guy that's holding the gate open at the footy ground, doing an awesome job. But he's always got a smile on his face. He's always saying, "Good on you, have a good day." And then someone abuses him because he didn't get the gate open fast enough. And you go, no, let's just do good. Do you know what I mean? Like, anyway, sorry.
no, it's good because it's bringing up stuff for me too, right? Like just listening to that, and it's
Mm.
like what comes up for me is that value, right? One of the things that I love talking about if I get the opportunity to do a presentation is I like to understand the value of people because
Mm.
what are the values? I mean, we're talking about personally. I had the opportunity to speak to an amazing group of surveyors who are actually doing a lot of the rail crossing bridges, underpasses, getting rid
Yeah,
of
yeah.
rail crossings, right? And these guys are working 12-hour shifts at the moment, and I got the opportunity to spend time with them talking about their life and what they're putting forward. And the thing that I loved doing was appreciating them and giving them value of what they do, to letting them know how important
Mm.
I could see their job was, because I went into detail about what they did.
Mm.
Like you say with Meals on Wheels, it's not just the dropping off a meal and saying g'day. It's the bigger impact that
Mm.
happens because these things happen. That is something we don't talk enough about. We don't talk about the actual bigger picture and the impact that it does have.
Mm.
So yeah, and so that got me going. What's the value?
Yeah.
That's a social value, which I think we should move into now, right? I think we should move
Sure.
into the social value. What is the social value of volunteering?
Yeah. Again, like that such a multifaceted question
Yeah,
in relation to individual value. I could say to with no offense to soccer mums, I had a soccer mum, I was a soccer player, but the soccer mums, there is an army of them across the country that drop the kids off at 4:30, go do the shopping, go have a 2-hour life, and they deserve it, and come
yep,
back at 7:30 and pick up the kids, knowing that they've been in proper custodial care with their mates, being looked after, being educated, being trained, getting some exercise, getting off the couch, getting off their phone, whatever the story. You know what I mean? And I've said to them on some occasions as a coach, hey, I'm not a babysitter. I'm a coach. Like, don't treat us like babysitters, because there has been this disconnect, right, of the value, not just the volunteer coach value impact on a player, but the value to you. You don't get that 2 hours if it's not for me.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So the value proposition is completely different. I coach the kids because I value the experience I had in playing soccer, and I have a yearning to pass that on, and I like to see them win, and I'm super competitive, and all those things that go with it. But there's a value to me. My indirect value is to all those parents as well. So it's really hard. Like, when you talk about measuring the simple act, it's not. This is what a lot of the community who think that, nah, I haven't got time for volunteering, or it's not worth it, or I don't get anything. They miss that picture. Do you know what I mean? That's why we have 5.9 million volunteers in Australia, a working population of 10.3 million, and they're lucky that there's 5.9 million supporting the extra value, not the direct value. There's value.
For me, that's why we're having this conversation, right?
Mm.
For me, that we're having this conversation so people can understand more about the actual value of volunteering, like the social impact of
Yeah.
of volunteering, like just that, right? So I want to grab that for just a moment, right? So
Sure.
we got a mum.
Hmm.
She's a single mum. She's got three
Yep.
kids,
3.
and she's got three kids, and she's part of the community, and she's working hard, and she's trying to do the right thing. She's got the kids week on, week off, but when
Hmm.
she's got the kids, there's a lot more to do. Obviously, she's got food prep like that.
Yep.
She goes down to the local football club,
Yep.
drops the kids off. They are supported by their coaches. They are in a safe
Hmm.
environment.
Yep.
She gets to run around, do a bit of extra shopping to make sure things are done.
Hmm.
Those
Yeah.
kids go to school.
Yeah.
their parents aren't together. They're not quite sure where things are going in life. They're not misbehaving as much because they're part of a sporting club that's got other good people around them to support them,
Yep.
right? So while they're going through a tough time, they've got sporting clubs around them they can also lean on, that mum and dad can lean on, so that we can be a part of things. I've got my
Yeah.
Yu-Gi-Oh! I've got the Yu-Gi-Oh! Group, right, for
Mhm.
Oscar. Yeah, that if I need to get things done, hey guys, I'm Yu-Gi-Oh! Yeah, listen, Oscar's going to be down there. Yeah, great. I can get my things done, so
Yeah.
that I can keep doing things. So what is the value of volunteering? Volunteering comes in so many different areas, and I'm going to ask you, Darryl, to just name off the top of your head 10 areas where volunteers are. Sporting club,
10 areas where they are.
sporting club.
Well, in a sporting club, you've got what we call formal volunteers. They're the ones that have actually signed an agreement with the club that says, I'm going to volunteer in this
Mhm.
capacity for this period of time. That's
Mhm.
not just a wishy-washy aspiration. That's, I'm going to be the president for 3 years. 3 years of
Mhm.
their time. Now, I don't know whether all of them know what's actually in that job when they sign off, but they find out quick. So there's the formal volunteer. There's the quasi-formal volunteer. So the footy club has got a sub ladies committee and they run their canteen and they run all the, food prep for events and all that sort of stuff. Then you've got a subcommittee, which is the fundraising committee. So you've got 1, 2, 3 already different type of volunteers. Then you've got the informal volunteers, the other 30 that are hanging around the club members that whenever you need a hand, we've got to put a fence up, they're all there. Then you have the fly-in, the FIFO, right? They're the mud army. They're the guys that just go, hey, I don't volunteer as a general rule. I'm not associated with any organisation or club, but this particular town is in disaster and I feel compelled to go and do my bit to help them out. So you've got those then, the mud army. And there was like 15,000 of them turned up in Ballina when we had Queensland floods last. Like just crazy stuff. Never knew anyone, just picked up shovels and started moving mud. Like fantastic guys. So what do we got? We've got 5 already,
Oh,
and we
yep.
haven't even stepped outside of a club yet. Do you know what I mean? Then you've got the volunteers. Like, we have a group up here, an organisation with us called the World Blind Golf Association. So these guys are all blind. So their caddy is a volunteer, and he drives the cart and he scores and he finds the ball and he lines up every shot. Like, who volunteers at golf, man? Like, what a job. Do you know what I mean? There's those volunteers. Then we've got the diehard, the tin rattlers, the ones that'll stand on a street corner, passionately volunteering to raise funds. We got the other ones that work in, those support industries that support our paid government services like AMBOs and like state emergency services and like fireys. Like there is a whole world in that environment, just in emergency. These guys super high trained, skilled, dangerous, reckless. Do you know what I mean? Brave. Like these guys are ridiculous, and that's just a volunteer. Like I sound like I'm doing an ad for a Marvel movie. Do you know what I mean? So you've got no, seriously. So you got those guys. Then we've got, there's the volunteering sector that we work with as well. YWAM, young guys, they're all Christian ministry. They do their own stuff, generate their own money, and then they get and they go to a foreign country for 2 years to try and help build villages and stuff like that. I met with the most awesome bird, Scotty, just to segue there. Her name is Helen Zahos. She's an international volunteer. She is amazing. Spoken at the Geneva Convention. She's had 2 TED Talks, written a book. She's a keynote speaker. She's a high-level infectious disease and intensive care nurse and a paramedic. And she just got back from Ukraine, where she went from here by her own money to volunteer her expertise in the Ukraine emergency division in the center of town hospital, put her life on the line. She was flown to Thailand, Malaysia, wherever. You remember the 12 soccer boys that got stuck in the tunnel that was flooded? She was flown there to help on the emergency team. Like, unbelievable. So you get that level of volunteer as well. You get the volunteers that jump on medical ships that go to the Arctic and sail around, doctors on water or doctors on board or whatever they're called. The degree, and then you've got the volunteers, the God bless their soul volunteers that make afternoon tea for Saturday Pennant every day. And they do it not to volunteer, they do it to make sure everyone's had a feed, everyone's had a cup of tea, everyone has a nice afternoon. Betty gets to see Beryl and she gets to see Janice, and they all talk about what they've crocheted this week, and they do all their stuff, and it's never a drama, and they're the nicest people in the world. My grandma was one of them. You know what I mean? So you get those organisations called the Country Women's Association, CWA or whatever it was, that were pillars of society. So can you explain how many levels and what type of volunteers there are? No, it's infinite, man. Doesn't matter where you look. Doesn't matter where you look.
And I'm just loving this because you haven't even scratched the surface. And that every single you go, especially rural park was Wild Rotary. Like if you've got all the different charities, you got all the different op shops, you got all the like the salvos, the behind the scenes, and the sorting out all the clothes and all the extras. There's just so many levels of volunteering. Where would our society be without it?
I think I said last week, man. There's a rule of thumb in social economics. You take every salesperson off the planet, and we're toast in 4 weeks. If you take every volunteer off the planet, the world is in chaos in 2. We did the calculus when we were fortunate enough, and Smithy did the World Series of Sport presentation of FireFly in 5 minutes. He put up a stat that he said, in the 5 minutes that I've been doing this presentation, over 11,000 volunteers have committed 16,000 hours worth of work in this 5 minutes. That's how many there are on the basis of volunteering in 5 minutes. So you think about every day as a day ticks by. Volunteers, those people that do good, those people that put that burden upon themselves, the responsibility of saying, I have to show up. Mate, and to think that we as a society are thanking them enough, not a chance. Not a chance, nowhere near it. So we need to. And that's why we want to. That's why we want to elevate volunteers, because they are all dead set 100% legends. All of them, every one of them.
Sorry, I smile a lot when I hear conversation that really invigorates me. And one of the things that invigorates me so much is the fact that we're into a society where data is readily available, where we're becoming better educated on what's important and what's not. Personally, I feel the FireFly Initiative and the data you're putting on the table is so valuable to community and business to understand why it has the impact it has. We can also understand that if we put more emphasis on it and we bring more of it to the table and we reward the volunteering in a way that gives people more connection, what is our society going to look like? Like what is it? What is it? It is just wonderful. Like, and I want to lean into the business side of things because for me, we need everything that we've got in front of us right now. We need business to be successful. We need volunteers to be successful. And there's so many different parts and so many different avenues. But how do we make it all work together, and why do we need it to create value for us as a whole? And the only way we're going to understand that value is by breaking it down into that 10,000 piece jigsaw puzzle so that we can actually put it together and see the bigger picture. Sure. Right? So, business.
Yes.
What is the value of volunteering to businesses?
to volunteer to businesses?
No, for business. For businesses, what value does volunteering or doing good provide business?
Oh, look, it could be infinite. You know, there has been um, some real drive behind the economics of small business at the moment. You know, with um, government offering incentive for apprenticeships. You know, a lot of us are looking at how do we do some really intense, like intern training, so that whatever the relief that the small business can get relative to increasing their opportunity through staff. There's a whole platform, and it just so happens that FireFly Initiative may have developed a little platform that goes on the back end of that, which is our 13-week zero minus opportunity for entrepreneurialism. That's the focus on the kids. You know, a 13-week program is saying, hey, listen, if school's not for you, if you want to change the world, if you want to be that dreamer like us, then we encourage you to do so. And we have a whole heap of mentors that will go through each of the processes without the, no offense, the uni BS and the psychology of the books, just mentoring experience. And you'll come across this and you'll come across that. Anyway, I diversify. What was the question?
but
no, I got so far down that rabbit hole.
But that's a rabbit hole that I think we might go down next week, because
yeah.
I think there is so much emphasis on academia that we need to really look at that, because in the conversation I had earlier today, AI has a lot of academia seriously worried, because their jobs are obsolete when you can get answers direct.
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up, and I'm going to help you right now. As you know, and you know who, I've got a bit of a tech head mate. His name's Courtney Smith, co-founder, right? And because I was in the same, I'm going, oh, my head's exploding, the amount of redundancies. You know, like why do I have 8 journalists that write the draft on this editorial and then give it to me? Do you know what I mean? Bang, AI punch it out. Anyway, my learned friend Courtney said, listen, I've dug deep into this AI protocol. It's mathematics. It's not intelligent. I went, what do you mean? He goes, its brilliance is being able to retrieve every possible element of education and knowledge that's been stored somewhere and retrieve it in a conceptual way relative to what you ask. But it's mathematics. We've found a whole stream of things that you ask it, and it says, I'm sorry, I don't have the system of interpretation to be able to give you that. That's what we do. Do you know what I mean? So rest assured, it's not as intelligent as we think, because I felt exactly the same way until Smithy resonated. He said, it's code. It's a mathematical process. The speed by which it does is outstanding. The opportunity it does for creatives like you and me and those others to draft stuff really quickly when you're pulling from other information, beautiful. It's fantastic resource. We love it to death. Am I worried that it's going to replace me or anybody else? No, not now. Not now. I know that the algorithm is only as good as what you ask it, because it can't think yet, Scotty. That's not to say it won't, but it doesn't think. And you'll get that from, the meta tags you put on your website, right?
Mm-hmm.
For Google optimization, for search optimization.
Mm-hmm.
That's a code.
Yes.
It's no different to what AI is, except AI is really big and really codey and really pulls stuff together like lightning and just blows your mind. But will it replace us? No. Going to make a lot of people lazy. Absolutely. Both physically and mentally. But not volunteers, mate, because volunteers just do what they do because it's good.
But I love that, right?
I try to steer us out of that AI conversation.
No, I appreciate that, because like we could go down a big rabbit hole there. But I do want to grab that part of it, right? Because
Mhm.
being connected to your community
Mhm.
is becoming a really important part of business. COVID has showed us that people have lost their purpose. COVID has
Yep.
showed us that there's a massive disconnection between what people want in their hearts
Mhm.
and what's being delivered in their business world, in their workplaces. So, volunteering as
Mm.
part of your employment actually makes you stronger as a business.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And to tack into the AI conversation, with things being able to be done quicker because of it, with things being able to be done uh, in a much faster pace, we're actually going to have a little bit more time to connect to people.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
can, how can we do that? How can we add more value to the 10,000 piece jigsaw
Mm.
with that? I've got my work
Well,
done quicker. Brilliant. What can I add to the community? How can I
yeah.
volunteer that time to something?
Well, and there's that component too. But we can talk about, in the youth and the education platform as well. You know, it's nothing for kids to rack up a $40,000 debt learning to become a particular thing. But
Mhm.
then when it comes to business and local business in particular, they want to walk through the door and they go, "I want you to pay for you to teach me." If the ideology was, if I want to learn from you, therefore I will pay you. I'm not going to pay you in money, but I'm going to pay you in my time and me doing good for your business whilst you teach me. That's a different proposition. Do you know what I
Mm.
mean? There's a value on both sides of that. To the business, great, enthusiastic young kid wants to learn my trade and he's going to volunteer and do all the volunteer jobs that I give him, and it's not going to cost me anything. That's a win-win on the end. His resume, work experience at this place. I'm a valued proposition. I've done good. Like all those statements that now go, do I want to compare Apple or do I want to compare Midas's golden spinning wheel? Do you know what I mean? Like that's what it's like. But you got to get that ideology through, Scotty. That's the tricky bit. It's we can see that because we're on it. We do it. And that's
Oh,
going to be
sorry.
it's going to be one of those ongoing things. But this is what I was talking about right at the start. About doing it for the family and do it for the legacy. You got to get this change, this shift back to who's important in the community, and it's everybody is the answer. Volunteers are the replication of that. Volunteers. If a volunteer's at a footy game, they don't stand there and judge the 300 crowd that are coming through. They're just happy to help them come through and have a good day. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So there is infinite value in volunteering. And then there's the clinically, scientifically proven medical benefits that you get from volunteering. You get exercise, you get reduced blood pressure, you get reduced cholesterol, you get less anxiety. You know what I mean? There is so many other major uh, practical medical health benefits to the pure act of giving good.
I'm listening to that, and I think that's going to be our topic next week. The health and emotional benefits of volunteering,
Yeah,
because I think we haven't even scratched that one yet.
and
So,
it's massive, man. It's massive.
hmm, yeah, it is.
All the sectors are massive, and this is where we get frustrated from that point, which is why our mission. We keep coming back to our mission was to elevate volunteers, because what I had a volunteer say to me was, the third thing on that list of what's important to them is having society recognise their contribution.
Yeah.
That you should look at a volunteer the same as you look at a police officer, or the same as you look at an ambo, that their sole purpose is to make the community a better, safer place. So is this person. Yeah, okay, so they sell hot dogs in the canteen at the footy shop, at the footy club. So if
Yeah.
she didn't do it, it either wouldn't be done, then you complain there's no hot dogs. You know what I mean? to value every little piece of that puzzle. And major charity organisations are the same, mate. You know, they have their creative volunteers, they have their soldier volunteers, they have the people that brave. Like, I've been in sales a long time, so to try and get a sales team to go and knock on the door, cold canvas, and go, "Hi, you know, I'm from Darryl, I'm from this real estate company, blah 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 blah, whatever." Volunteers, no sales training, no experience. Can you go and knock on the door and ask if they'd like to give to the Red Cross appeal? Talk about out of my comfort zone. And those people do it for 8 hours.
Yeah.
Rain or hail or bang, because of the good that they do. So yeah, man, yeah. As we said last week, man, we could talk for an eternity on how good volunteers are, how good volunteering is, what the social impact and outcome are, and all of those little pieces, like you said, we're putting together, should be painting a picture of what reciprocity is going to look like, because
And
that's the address that you want to live in.
But that's what I think we're doing over the next 6 weeks, right?
Yeah.
For me, just listening to you now and the dance last week, like, I think this is a really, really important conversation, because we think of volunteering as, I'm going to go and be a part of an event and I'm going to support them. I'm going to go and be a part of CFA, or I'm going to go down the footy club. But we don't generally think about the wider impact, the wider support network, the value of volunteering, doing good in our society really brings. And it's, you know, like, you know, in a time of life where everything's trying to take your time, understanding the value of what you can do and then prioritizing that into the world we want to live in. Like, maybe I dream, but I love it.
You're not dreaming by yourself, man.
No, we're not. But this is the whole thing, right? We're not. And the more we do this together, the more we have these conversations, the more we get people involved in the opportunities that we get brought forward, the stronger we are in humanity. This is not a conversation about simply volunteering. This is a humanity conversation. This is how we support one another. This is how we take our hearts and own them, because we know we're loved in that society that's reciprocity. We're loved in reciprocity, right? Because we understand the value of it.
Yeah.
Right. I'm really loving this stance. I'm gonna ask you one question to finish up.
In 1 minute.
In 1 minute, you're gonna have. I'm actually only going to leave you with 60 seconds to answer it.
Okay, great, thanks.
Right, just to put you under the pump, right? If Darryl Vine had to determine the value of volunteering in a minute and connect with 10,000 people in an audience, what would he say?
The value of volunteering, on the basis that it's actually the value of good, it's the measurement of the deed that you do for the benefit of somebody else. That gives you that value, because when that happens to us, there is a scale of value, and you went, wow, that person didn't have to do that for me. And if we keep that experience when we think about how we give that to somebody else, then the good becomes the main juice in reciprocity. It's that fair and equitable exchange of heartfelt gratitude in the receiving, and the heartfelt gratitude in the giving. You know, we have lost the opportunity to be grateful to give. Volunteers are the epitome. They are grateful to give the good that they offer. There you go.
Bang on a minute.
I'm pretty good at I was lucky. Don't ask me to do it again.
but I love it, right? Because when you got to compound things, it's actually quite difficult, right? And that's I've absolutely loved tonight, mate. I really, really
Me too,
value
man.
this conversation. I value
Mm.
what this brings to the table, and I'm looking forward to next week.
Yeah, man.
Already.
Yeah, and the buzz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, if you're watching this and you've taken the time to sit and listen to this, and you have a question, sing out.
Mhm.
If you've got something that you'd like to understand more, if you want to find out something, send us a message to either of us, because we're open
Yeah.
to exploring this, because we're worth it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, on that note, Darryl, I just thank you so much for just putting your heart on the table and just
My
being
pleasure.
open to opening that up and diving into a conversation that is just authentic.
Mm.
It's real. It's not pre-planned. It's just a heartfelt conversation about why we do the things we do.
Yeah,
And
man.
I
And you keep
really,
doing them because the good you bring, man, the good you bring.
the good we bring is even better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. So on that note, to whoever's watching it, thank you so much for taking the time. We'll be
Yeah,
back
man.
next week when we
You bet.
open up the value of volunteering for a health and emotional, whatever that word is, but more importantly, our hearts, I think.
That's it.
So beautiful. All right. Thank you,
Yeah,
Darryl.
mate. No
Take
worries.
care.
See you later.
All right.
Bye.
Ciao.